special meeting and workshop to order. Just for those that are watching or interested, our due process hearing has been rescheduled, and we will move right into our special meeting. And I have opening exercises, and if we can just stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And I just need to adopt the agenda as recommended by the superintendent.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Powers, a second by Ms. Balfour to adopt the agenda as recommended by the superintendent. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. And just as a note, we have Ms. Bryant is absent today, and we wish her well. Business and Support Services, Human Services, Mr. Bishop.
Good morning. I'd like to request the board's approval of the instructional and support recommendations.
Make a motion that we approve the instructional and support recommendations as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Dodd, second by Ms. Balfour to approve the instructional support recommendations, and I'm going to get Ms. Hemmel here to
I just want to, and I think you all know this, but under some of the resignations for 14 and 15, you'll see some of the names there, but they're people who've been moved to administrative positions, but they have to resign from the positions they're taking up, just in case you see that mentioned.
Thank you, Ms. Hemmel. Any questions or comments?
Thanks for all your hard work. You guys have been busy. Thank you.
Before what everything stands for the bottom.
Yeah,
Let's
like
not
that.
do that. Make it look, oh, yeah.
Sandy, I see your name is on the list too. That mean you can't vote on this, or?
How do you see what we do?
I didn't know, just,
Yeah, I don't think there's financial gain.
right.
Yeah, we will. I've enjoyed this position.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Attorney Legal Matters.
See you.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn this? Oh, yes. Oh, is there anything you have?
Hopefully, in the next couple board meetings, we will bring the agreement between Citrus County Schools and CF for approval. The update on that is, you know, that CF has proposed to us that they will not reimburse us any money back on our contract as they have done in the past 2 years. I spoke to Dr. Henningsen one day last week, and they're pretty adamant that they do not want to refund Citrus County Schools or their partner school districts any dollars back. So we spoke to him a little bit about our administrative costs. We know that we will not reach that 50% that they've given us before. He made a comment that it was really a 2-year agreement to get our budgets in preparation. We looked at all of our agreements. There was nothing mentioned in any of them about a 2-year agreement. So we have offered to them that some school districts are going line item, like what it costs for council, what it costs to, we've got the book charge and everything in there. We think this is probably about a 15% administrative charge that we can gain back from that contract. I need to know if the board wants us to pursue that. CF is very adamant. They have administrative costs, but remember, they're getting the full cost of tuition. We're paying for the books. They're very adamant that they also have administrative costs. So, district-wise, we'd like to pursue that 15%, but it's your contract, you all will sign. I need to know from each one of y'all what you want us to do. We entered into the contract because 2 years ago, Mark, correct, 2 years ago, legislation said that we would pay for the students' tuition. So we met with the college and they agreed that they would reimburse us 50% of the fees. So if that does not happen this year, then there's probably another additional $80,000 to $100,000 that we will have to budget to meet the need of that contract. So we're saying that we're fine, okay, so legislation does not prohibit them from reimbursing us. So districts are going back now and saying, okay, we'll give you a line item, which I know CF will come back with a line item to us, but they are right now keeping all the dollars that we pay. So I need to know if you all would like us to pursue that. I don't know if we'll get it, if we won't, but we'd like to at least submit something to them to say, here's our cost to do this.
So without this, we really don't have a partnership, it's one way. We pay. So, no, I'd like to proceed.
Mr. Dunn.
So I just want to make sure, they were giving us 50% of the cost back to us, and now they're giving us 0, but you're saying we could get 15% reimbursed?
We would like to try.
Okay,
They're pretty adamant that they've got administrative costs also, and that it might be a battle, but we would like to at least get into it.
So this 2-year thing is still shocking me because that was never a conversation in any of our paperwork discussion. This is all about because the colleges lobbied the legislature because they wanted to now get a more dollar amount for the tuitions that was being provided. And that just still bothers me that now they're basically changed in the middle of the game, the situation. So yeah, 15% at the very least.
And it'll be a job for Ed Services to come up with that with the schools, but we feel like before we just give them, throw the towel in, at least we can say, here's what it costs us to do this. And I will say our enrollment's up, and I've got the numbers on my desk, I'll let that sheet, but I can grab it. We have encouraged, because the fear at the beginning, when all this started, was that our high school would say, just take AP courses and not take dual enrollment, but our schools have done the best that they can. Our enrollment's up, and they're getting more and more students to take dual enrollment.
And we have a number of our students, for the public to understand too, that they'll take almost their entire senior year, and they will go to college for that. And we certainly not only don't discourage it, we encourage it because of the financial and educational benefit. But we also don't have an option of helping those students decide whether it's always appropriate for them to take a class too. And I believe legislation does not even permit us to deny a student's request, if they so desire, to take dual enrollment. So the district is on the hook, is that correct? Yeah.
And it's a huge benefit for our kids, because a lot of our kids
Absolutely.
take more and more courses that are transferable back to CF.
It's a huge benefit for the parents to save $10,000 or so a child.
Mr. Clark.
I'll just kind of reiterate what Mrs. Himmel said. Mr. Simon keeps the stats. And 686 courses we're taking this year for our students in the dual enrollment. That's exactly what Mrs. Himmel had said. Sometimes those requirements for certification are more stringent than the AP courses that we teach. And so we are doing what we can, encouraging schools and staff to basically go for that certification so that we can offer those courses on our campus. Then we would not be losing those FTEs. So we'll continue.
And remember, with AP dollars, once our students take that test, we receive funds back for AP testing. So that program does receive dollars back. And to teach a college course for CF, you have to have a master's in that content area. And years ago, they used to provide a supplement back to the teachers, and they've taken that away. So many of our teachers may or may not choose to teach that course.
Well, there's a financial benefit to teach the AP course, because they do get that. Mr. Clotter, do we know, there's articulation agreements, of course, between public schools and, in this case, College of Central Florida, and then there's also articulation agreements that they have to have between like a private school or a homeschool. Do we know if there's any difference? Because, in those cases, a homeschool student Who's paying for that?
Now, I do not believe that the homeschool is actually covering any of the costs for their students to take that, but I can confirm that. I mean, you've asked that before.
Because again, and I am
It is
you know,
free.
someone who says I value that homeschool student has that opportunity. But the question, of course, the public needs to understand is, here, the ad valorem taxpayer is on the hook for that. My question is who's on the hook for the other students? And
Mr. Simon, it's in the articulation agreement as well. There is an articulation agreement with the home education entity, and they do not have to pay that back as legislation.
so that would be a question to me, who's paying for that?
And address the private schools too. Private schools too.
Have there been any school districts that we know of that have kept the 50% back? I mean, are any colleges giving school districts?
I don't believe so. They're all having conversations with their community, either community college or college.
And this goes back again to the lobbying, the colleges lobby the legislatures first to get the payments and to get a full reimbursement. And then after negotiating with us, they've gone back now and changed their agreement.
And we certainly do not want to get in the battle with CF because they've been a great partnership of ours with our staff and our students and those types of things. But the district's recommendation is that we still at least submit a line item where at least we can ask for X amount of dollars. Whether we get it or not, we still need to make it up, in our opinion.
It's disappointing that these are all of our kids.
So if the board wants us to pursue that, we will pursue it. If they want us to say just sign the agreement, we will sign the agreement.
And what was the funding formula before the two-year window that we're dealing with as far as it's brought this to the table? How was doing, just if someone could explain that?
We did not pay tuition, but we still pay for all of our administrative costs and we pay for all the books. But for some reason, they seem to have to change every year.
And the books were always an issue.
Yes.
So admin cost and books. So is that 15%?
Legislation does actually dictate the amount that goes back, and that was, as Sybil said, 2 years ago. But ever since I came to the district office, we have been providing, and we are required by statute to require the instructional materials to our students that are enrolled in dual enrollment. Now, if that was a consistent target, that would be fine. And you know this, we basically look at our textbook adoption review process every 6 years. The colleges, I would probably say prior, has been pretty much 3 years, but up until last year, it's been when the professor basically decides it's a change. And I will tell you, it's just, we basically learn about that during the beginning of the year. But the other thing is, just like we are going through digital content, so is the college. And therefore, subscriptions to online digital content is becoming increasingly a practice of the college. And it's not just for the life of the adoption, it's a yearly, annual one. So it's not like we have a book and then we can keep it for 6 years. We basically have to buy the math lab or the writing lab that the colleges now require.
And that's called My Reading or My Writing or My Math, and that's about $125 more per student. And like Mr. Plauder said, if Mr. Plauder graduates this year, I can't come in as a rising junior or senior and use his software. We have to purchase that for the next student, so that is per student per year.
So you're thinking 15% request is going to cover what the projected administrative